Hey, this is Andre Savoy. I want to welcome you to our channel. And today's video is going to be walking you through a simple three-step marketing strategy that we've developed for local upscale businesses. And if you're wondering, are you an upscale business owner? Well, an upscale business is something that is a premium purchase. It's something that people don't make all the time. It's something that costs more. It's a discretionary purchase. So maybe that's a jewelry store or furniture or a water park or just anything, even air conditioning and roofing and those sorts of things, anything that's considered an optional kind of purchase. And what we found is that there's a different type of customer that makes an upscale purchase. And so there's different strategies that are required. And that's really what this channel is about. Just a quick introduction to me. I've been in marketing for almost 20 years now. I've run a marketing agency for most of that, and we serve primarily upscale local clients. But I found it really interesting over the years to look at why some client campaigns did really well and some flopped, some didn't do well. This is a lot of times using the same campaign structures, same keywords, same basic strategy. And we'd see some things worked and some things didn't. And so, at this point, what I've done is I believe that really the difference in success in marketing comes down to what happens in your business. It's not about the agency or the freelancer or the tactics even. It's really about what you're doing and what you're driving and what you're providing. So that's really why I walked away from my agency and why I've started this channel and this sort of group approach is because I believe that you have to take action to take ownership and you have to drive. And so when you do that, then everything else is going to work better. And that's when you're going to have success. And so I want to share that with you today. So this whole concept is designed to help you organize a digital marketing strategy. What you'll have at the end is a strategy that you can feel good about moving forward. Okay. And the first step on that process is to deal with your mindset. Okay. And to get your mindset right. And before you leave and say, I'm out of here, the reality is this is a business video and we're talking about marketing strategy. But what I have found over the years is that the mindset of the person that we're working with, in other words, the mindset of the business owner is make or break when it comes to things. I've had clients come in that were very jaded. They had lost money because they had worked with an agency that they felt like didn't uphold their end of the deal. It screwed them, didn't go well. They had tried different tactics that they're like, well, we tried this for a while and it never did anything. They were very stressed about money. They're stressed about budgets, stressed about what to do, stressed about the economy. So they come in and they're very much in a state of stress and confusion. And what I have found in general is that mindset is not at all conducive to building a strategy. And the reason being is that, at the end of the day, creating a strategy is a creative process. You're creating something, you're building it, you're trying to take and organize a lot of things and put them into a sequence and to do something that makes sense. It's very difficult to do that and be in that mindset of creating and envisioning when you're in a mindset of survival or panic or fear or any of those things. So it's really important. I believe that if you're in that state where you're just like, I'm so overwhelmed and I'm so freaked out at this point, I think that you're not ready to build a strategy because you have to take some time to really get yourself grounded and centered, and for some of us that have worked on that sort of thing for a while, maybe that happens quickly for you, or maybe you need to learn about that and take a break. I talked to a client recently. He's been like all this financial turmoil and he's been through all this trouble and blah, blah, blah. And like I talked to him and he just couldn't get past any of those things. Well, guess what? He's not ready to talk about business strategy because his brain is still very much in survival mode. The kind of things that help when it comes to doing this, I'll tell you a quick story. So one of our clients goes to Austin once a year for a marketing retreat. And the first 2 days of the marketing retreat are not in a classroom. They're not with a consultant. They're just them in a very quiet place, walking the grounds with notebooks. They have a few things to kind of prompt some thoughts and do some journaling and think about what they want to do and kind of organize their thoughts. But they spend 2 solid days in a quiet place away from the office, away from, all the stress of running a business to really focus themselves on what they want to do. So that's one way of doing it, right? So it doesn't matter if you're going to go spend 2 solid days doing that, great. So that works for that client. Other clients that I've seen take success, they come in feeling grounded and positive and upbeat and just that mental state and whatever it takes for you to get there, whether that's breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, being outdoors in nature, whatever your go-to is, or if you don't have those, it's time to learn them. Because I'm here to tell you that if you come in to start planning your marketing and you're feeling negative, guess what? Your marketing plan is going to reflect that. If you come in and you're feeling optimistic and positive and you're feeling like empowered, guess what? Your marketing plan is going to reflect that. So it's really important for you to acknowledge your state of mind and acknowledge that when it comes to a creative process like branding or strategy and those sort of things, that you can't just like come in and power through it, even though you're having a rotten day. It's not the day to do it if that's the case. But if you've learned some of those tools, or if you want to start learning those tools, as crazy as it sounds, those tools will help you throughout all these other things that will make everything else better. And I've just seen it over and over again. So don't overlook that. Make sure that you're in the right frame of mind to come in and create something in terms of building a marketing strategy. Now, the second thing that is part of our plan is the second step is to go through an assessment process. And the assessment process is really because, everybody that comes into working on marketing comes in from a different place. So maybe your business is brand new and, you're just building a website and you don't have a customer list, or, you're a 30-year-old second generation business and you've got a really nice website, you've got some search rankings, you've got a customer list, you've got a social audience. Well, guess what? The marketing strategy for the first business is going to be significantly different than the marketing strategy for the second business. This lack of assessment is really why a lot of people get frustrated with the marketing process because, and I'll just pick air conditioning, for instance, there's a lot of companies out there that claim that they just do air conditioner marketing. So you show up, I'm an air conditioning contractor, right? You work with other air conditioning contractors. Boom, I need more leads and you should be able to do that. Well, the same things don't apply for every business. And your business assets are a major difference in what somebody would suggest or how you would organize that strategy. And so the things that you want to go through and look at beginning to assess in terms of what you have to work with and the condition of the things that you have to work with. Okay. So again, much like looking at your tools, how many tools do you have and what are their conditions? So some of the things that we look at in terms of doing an assessment are, what's your brand message? When it comes to working with upscale clientele don't buy the first thing that they see, and they don't buy because of price and because it's the cheapest thing. They buy because they are looking for a transformative experience. And so does your brand message reflect a transformative experience that those people are going to have when they do business with you? That's the first question. And if it doesn't, then before you proceed down the road of doing the rest of the stuff, you really have to spend some time working on your brand message. I have other videos and other content can help you with those sort of things, but your brand message is maybe the most important asset that you have. And so if your brand message is in good shape, great, continue on. But if it's not, stop and work on and make sure that you're talking about transformative experiences and not features and benefits. The next thing on the list to look at is your website and your digital properties. I see some people come in and they're like, hey, our website's in good shape, and we pull it up and they've got like a 3-page website, with very little information. And on the other hand, we see people that have been at the website piece for a while and they've got a really well-developed website. It's got a good brand message. It's got good, clean calls to action. It's mobile responsive. It loads fast. They've got really in-depth content. They've got stories of their customers. They've got that sort of stuff. Well, they're in a different spot when it comes to building a strategy. So the state of your website, the state of your content, the state of the mobile friendliness of your website is something that you can't overlook when you're building a strategy, because if you jump past some of those things, you can run traffic and do different things and have different tactics. But if your website isn't really ready, then none of it's going to matter. It's not going to work. So you've got to take time to go through, your website and really make sure that you're traffic ready. Now, within this assessment area, the next thing to look at is, what kind of audience do you have to work with? So again, if you're brand new, maybe you don't have an audience, right? Nobody knows who you are. Your business hasn't been around for a year. But if you have an established business, maybe you have an email list, or maybe you have a social media following, or maybe you just simply have a customer list. I've seen a lot of people that came in that had never really done a lot of marketing. They had an older business, but they had 7,000, 8,000 people in QuickBooks. So they have people that they have, not necessarily that they've been marketing to. So looking to see where you have an audience is a big part of developing a strategy, because if you don't have an audience, you have to look at like specific tactics to build one. But if you have an audience, and I see this over and over again, especially in the upscale space, is that audience is a great place to start with marketing. And a lot of you that I talk to aren't really marketing much to your current audience. There's this frame of mind that like they've already bought from you. Well, maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but they know a lot of people who might want to buy from you, or maybe they want to buy from you again. Maybe they've moved houses or changed things, or it's a different stage of life, any of those sort of things. But staying in touch with that audience is really critical. And so knowing what your audience is in terms of assessing allows you to help build the tactics. If you've got an audience, you can look at email marketing and retargeting and those sorts of things. But if you don't have an audience, build a strategy a little differently, right? Okay, how can we start getting opt-ins? Where can we start getting social fans? Where do we start with those things to get them, right? And you can see where mistakes get made in terms of, is a certain tactic good? Sure. But it needs to be applied based on your specifics, right? So your audience is important to assess what you have there. And then the last piece of the assessment is one that's really easy to skip over because it's very technical. And that is making sure that you have all of your tracking set up so that you know how to evaluate your results. Almost 20 years I've been doing this. I have very rarely seen a client come in that, even a large client, I've seen clients with 25 locations come in. And when we do the initial audit, we're like, hey, what goals are you tracking? How are you tracking things? And they're like, we don't really know. And they go and look at their analytics and their reports are not set up correctly. They're tracking some things, but not all of it. They're tracking some stuff. Like we worked with one client and had 100% conversion rate on his website. Like, well, something's wrong. You're not converting 100% of every website visit. It's just not how this works. So that's where you have to work with someone to make sure that your tracking things are in place. Because as you launch a strategy, if you don't have the tracking methods in place, it's very difficult to evaluate the individual tactics and to see what works and what doesn't work. In fact, you pretty much will be running blind at that point. So don't overlook it. Also, I recommend in this case, don't spend a lot of time on it yourself. Setting up tracking assets is sort of a technical thing. So you need to understand what they are and which ones need to be tracked, but then find somebody for 10, 20 bucks an hour on an Upwork type site or someplace like that to actually do the coding for you, because it's just not worth your time as a business owner to learn how to set up that stuff and track it. But it is very much worth your while to understand it, make sure that it's there. Now, once your assessment's done, right? So you've got a good sense of, your mindset's in the right place. You're feeling good. You're feeling positive. You're feeling confident in that your ability to do something positive and influence this the right way. You're feeling good. Then you've gone through an assessment to say, okay, I have a really good idea of what I have to work with now. Here are my assets. Here are the things that I can do to improve them. These are what we have to work with going forward. Then at that point, you're ready to move into step 3, which is to actually build out your strategy. A lot of times people are just come in and they have this really oversimplified and they're like, well, we just need more leads in the business here. We need more sales and more leads. If we just get more, we'll be fine. It's never quite that simple. There's a bunch of reasons why, but the reality is that developing business through a marketing strategy really has several phases that you go through, right? It's not that you just can kind of go to somebody and say, we need more leads and boom, the leads show up tomorrow. That's not really how it goes. When you look at how marketing is built and how customers are acquired, especially in the high-end upscale space where people are often looking for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before they make a major purchase. And that's because, that purchase is expensive. It's not the kind of thing people do lightly or all the time. So they're going to take more time to research it, more time to think about it, more time to just simply mull it over until they find the right one. And so it's not really just about like, let's flip a switch and get more leads. We really need to kind of focus on what we call the customer value journey. And the customer value journey really looks at what happens in individual stages from when a customer first learns about your business, right? They become aware that you're there. How do you take them from that stage of just simply knowing that you're there to getting engaged with something that you're doing, right? To looking at a blog post or a gallery, right? I love customer stories because they tell the emotional experience of what a customer went through, right? And that's really what you want to have on your website, right? Ways for customers to engage with, your content, to look at your brand, to really start looking at what you're about. So how to take them from awareness to engagement and then to get them to opt in, right? Because opting in means that they're going to trade your email or a phone number in exchange for something else. Maybe that's a guide, maybe that's a checklist, maybe that's a video on how to do something or how to pick something, or anything that makes sense in your business to get somebody to opt in to receive more information. Shows even now that they're kind of going up the ladder, the customer value journey, following along from becoming aware to engage in your content to actually opting in, because at that point they want to know more specifics about something that they're interested in along the way, and then that ultimately leads to the final piece of that, which is when they convert, when they book an appointment or when they show up in the showroom or make a purchase on your website. Whatever the conversion action is in your case, you have to sort of lead high-end customers through a journey, because a high-end customer doesn't just wake up in the morning. I using engagement rings, work with a lot of engagement ring clients over the years. If you're going to buy an engagement ring, you don't wake up in the morning, if you're the guy, and say, I'm going to go buy this ring, and I saw an ad on Google and clicked on it, and that's over. right? It's never happened. They want to go look on a website. They want to start looking around. They want to think about their budget. They want to look at reviews. They want to start asking some friends what they bought, right? All that goes on. And it doesn't matter what the industry, right? You could say charter fishing, same thing. I'm going charter fishing. We decided it today. Well, I don't just go on Google and like Google charter fishing and book the first one I find. It's just never how it happens. Charter fishing trip is $800 on the low end and 3,000 or 4,000 on the high end. So you want to go look and see what kind of fishing is it? What's the captain look like? Is the boat nice? Do they have good reviews? What if I get seasick? What do I need? What about a license? Like there's 1,000 questions people have, especially if they don't do that all the time. So they're going to go through the process of looking at something. So they need to, if I'm looking for a charter captain, and I go, okay, how do I become aware of who's out there? Right. So you're going to go find through that first phase, which is awareness. Then maybe you look at some content on their website, right? I'm going to get engaged by looking at their gallery or reading about trips, right? And then you go to opt-in. Well, what's a good opt-in? Well, it depends on your situation. So if an opt-in might be for an engagement ring is I might download a guide on how to pick an engagement ring, right? I'm going to download, if I'm a charter captain, for something that tells me the different types of fishing at different times of year in this area, right? Those sort of things. So I'm going to then opt in because I'm pretty serious and I like what I've seen so far. And then the last phase of that is developing business, is converting, right? Where I'm going to then send a text, make a phone call, book an appointment, buy something online, whatever that is. But that process, that journey that happens naturally if you kind of structure the tactics in the right place. And that's why most people fail with marketing strategy, is that they go, okay, we need Google ads and Facebook ads and SEO. And it's like, those are tactics, right? There's no question those tactics work individually because lots of people have done them, and you see enough case studies and see that it's like, obviously Google ads are a good idea. They're an effective strategy. But if they're not used properly and they're not implemented properly within your brand, your business, what you need, that sort of stuff, that's when the failure happens, because you don't have the right strategy in place. You haven't taken into account your expectations, your assets, where you are with things, and then you haven't really laid out what a logical journey is for somebody to kind of become aware that your brand is there, to start taking steps to get to know who you are until they're comfortable enough to reach out and initiate a conversation about becoming a client. We want it to be just a straight line, right? I launch an ad, I got a customer, but that is not how it works in the world, especially in the upscale world where customers are more discerning and they're looking around for things. So you have to take it through that process of beginning to end in a natural way. Thank you for watching today. If you like this video, I want to invite you to check out our mini course on building your own marketing strategy. I created this course specifically for local upscale clients. And if that's you and that's the kind of business you have and you like what you've seen here, the mini course really breaks down all of these things in detail and has action items, checklists, all that sort of stuff that you need to actually kind of get the detail to get this launched in your business. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.